Hello, my crafty friends, Nicole here, and I'm back with a blog hop for you. Today is a collab between Joy Clair stamps and Imagine Crafts, and we do have a giveaway today, so make sure that you hop along on every stop and leave a comment to be entered into the giveaway. All the details about the prizes and the giveaway information is below in the description, so make sure that you check that out and leave some comments. Today I'm using a fun plastic medium. It's called Vertigo, and can you hear this sound? It's a little bit like a flicker sticker, and it makes this really cool dimensional look. And I'm going to pair it with Staz-on, the 5 new colors. So that's Plum, Caribbean Green, Cherry Blossom, Scarlet Flame, and Bordeaux. And I'm going to use this kind of like Yupo paper. So I have 2 versions of alcohol. So they're both 70% isopropyl alcohol, one in a spray bottle and one in a dropper bottle. And then I've got just a gunky brush. So I'm going to start with some of the Plum, and I put that down on the Vertigo and then sprayed it down with some alcohol. And I wanted to test and make sure that this was going to work like I thought. And it really did. It spread around really easy with the alcohol, and it did not dry quickly. So I started adding in a whole bunch of the colors. So Cherry Blossom, Scarlet Flame, Bordeaux, and Plum. I thought that those 4 colors would really go well together. They would blend okay, and I would end up with a really cool look. But secretly, I wanted to get some of that Caribbean green in there. So I left some spaces and just started to play around with the color and my paintbrush and see what I could come up with. Now I noticed that the color didn't really move super fast like it would on Yupo paper, so that gave me hope. I decided to dive into the Caribbean green and add in some bits, and it really did work. So I'm just starting to blend it in, and I did have that other color on my brush, so that wasn't working out so well. So I thought, you know what, I do have my air blower, and I'm going to try using a Yupo technique with that. So I added in some more isopropyl alcohol with the dropper this time, and you can see that it started to break up the Staz-on. It's exactly what I was hoping would happen. So I used my little air blower, and I was able to blow the color around and really get a unique look on top of the Vertigo. So lots of depth and lots of color variation between both the pattern on the Vertigo and the colors from the Staz-on. So why not take it a step further? I thought, hey, let's add some metallics to this. So I pulled out some all-purpose ink in copper, and even though this is a water-based medium, I thought it might still work. So I added some more alcohol and I tried to blow it around, but it didn't really quite work the way I thought it would. I got like a little blob moving around and whatever, so it just wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be. So in the end, I just ended up picking up my brush and kind of moving it around a little bit more, giving it a little helping hand, and I was really happy with the results that I got in the end. So it dried like amazing. The heat gun did not affect the plastic at all. It did not warp, it did not bend, and everything dried on there gorgeously. So I grabbed my Joy Clair stamp, and this is called Crystal Background, and I popped it down in the corner so I'd have all that little extra at the top with the Vertigo in case I wanted to cut something else out. So I added in a ton, and I mean like a ton of anti-static powder, because I thought, you know, this is plastic and the embossing powder is really going to stick to this. So I put down a ton of the anti-static powder, and then I inked up my stamp in some Versamark. So I'm going to heat emboss this in gold. Knowing that it dried so amazingly with the heat tool to begin with, I was not afraid to heat emboss this medium. I knew that it wasn't going to warp, it wasn't going to melt, and I was going to end up with a beautiful result. So it's stamped amazing. And you can't really see it here, but in a second you're going to see that I did start getting some of the embossing powder on there, and it really did stick gorgeously. So here is the result, and you can see there was a little spot that I missed with my anti-static powder, but I'm going to cut it out, so it was no big deal. So I went through and I fussy cut that whole thing, but it was super easy to do because I was just following the lines, and they were all just square lines, so it was very easy to do. And part of the reason I did that was because it was not going to fit on my card base the way I wanted it to. So I was going to have to cut out a few gems to make it work. And then I also wanted to cut out a section so I could add in my sentiment. And this was another experiment. I took a die cut and tried to cut out the Vertigo, and wouldn't you know it, it cut like butter. It was really, really, truly amazing. So I was able to cut out the shadow part of the die cut word, and then I cut the foreground out in some gold paper, and then I was able to glue them together with some on-point glue. Now I thought the best approach would be to just add a little bit of glue at a time and then add the die cut on top of it and just progressively add more glue and then stick down more of the die cut. That way it didn't dry too quickly, and I wasn't left having little bits of it popping up when I didn't want it to. So that was a really great technique to get that die cut all glued together. It did actually dry quite fast, and I was very happy with the results using the on-point glue with the Vertigo and the paper. So once I had that complete, I was basically ready to put my card together, but it needed more shimmer. So this time I took my Versamark in Dazzle and just applied that directly to the card base. And that gave me a really, really gorgeous sheen that didn't take away from the rest of the card. It just added a little bit of pearlescent shimmer, and it just was really a nice look. So then it was just time to assemble, and I added more on-point glue, very generously I might add, to the back of my Vertigo pieces, and was able to glue them in place. Now this did take a little bit of extra time. It did want to slip around a little bit, and it did want to pull up a little bit. So you can see that I'm just going to kind of hold it here and make sure that I've got it in place exactly where I want it, and then just let it be. And then I'll go ahead and add in my second piece that I snipped apart. Now I did cut out some of the gems in order to make this fit on the card base the way I wanted it to give it a little bit of a smaller frame. So I was just able to butt those up together and just make a few little adjustments as I was going to get everything to fit just the way I wanted. And it did want to pop up a little bit. So eventually I did pull out a acrylic block just to lay it on top and to get that to sit pretty flat so it could dry with a little bit of pressure on it, and I didn't have to sit there and hold it and hold it and hold it. It did glue quite nicely. I think part of the problem was that I had the Versamark on there, and so the cardstock was just a little damp and it didn't want to glue right away. So I just put down that acrylic block and then added in my sentiment. It really stuck well together, so I know that it wasn't really a problem with the on-point glue in the Vertigo. It was really about the Versamark being on the cardstock and making it a little damp. So I popped down my sentiment there, and then I moved my block down and just let that sit for a little bit until it decided to dry. While I was waiting for that, I cut a few of the extra gem pieces, and I die cut the rest of the sentiment, and I'll just put on the little dot for the eye here. So excuse my head, I got in the way a little bit there. And then on those last two elements, I had them ready to go with some adhesive foam just to pop those up and really add just a hair more dimension to this already dimension filled project. So I added those little bits in there, nothing went to waste, and it looked absolutely stunning. I really loved working with this Joy Clair stamp, and it paired so beautifully with the Vertigo and the Staz-on technique. If you've ever tried Vertigo, what's your favorite technique? Leave me a comment below. If you've never heard of it, leave me a comment too. I'd love to know what you thought of the product. Don't forget to hop along and leave comments along all the stops so you can enter into the giveaway. I'm so glad that you stopped today, and I hope you enjoy all the rest of the hoppers. I'll be back soon with more crafty goodness, but until next time, happy crafting. Help support my craft education efforts by clicking on the subscribe button and the little bell so you'll get notified when I create new content just for you. If you're looking for something else to watch, how about one of these crafty videos?